Hello and welcome to everyone on the line. We're so glad you could join us for today's webinar, Mauritius, your reliable sourcing destination from Africa in this new era. This event was organized by the United States Fashion Industry Association, representing brands, retailers, importers, and wholesalers based in the U.S. and doing business globally, as well as our friends at the Economic Development Board of Mauritius. My name is Shannon Brady, the Communications Coordinator at usfia. A few technical notes before we begin. The first is that questions can be submitted at any time during the live program. Simply click on your question header, type your text into the box, and hit send. Our presenters will address as many questions as possible at the end of the program. And if for some reason we experience a technical difficulty and lose audio, please refer to the chat box for further instructions. As a quick reminder, all attendees will receive a follow-up email later today with a copy of the slide deck and a recording of today's session. Now, before I give the floor over to Preeti Gopi, Economic Counselor for the Economic Development Board of Mauritius, to kick us off and introduce our speaker, let's enjoy this short clip on Mauritius.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are joining us today. It is with great pleasure that I welcome you all to this webinar on Mauritius, your most reliable sourcing destination from Africa, hosted by the Economic Development Board of Mauritius in collaboration with the U.S. Fashion Industry Association. Location, location, location. We have all heard this real estate mantra. It so very well applies to Mauritius, a major sourcing hub strategically located off the east coast of Africa and sitting in a golden triangle connecting Asia, Australia, and Africa. The island nation ranks among the 20 best places to do business worldwide and first in Africa by the World Bank. It is often called one of the most innovative in the sub-Saharan African region. Its drive for international quality standards, made possible by a forward-thinking, cutting-edge manufacturing sector, has propelled the country from a conventional cut, make, trim factory infrastructure to a vertically integrated, value-added, sophisticated sourcing power for textile and apparel of international repute. Manufacturers of textiles and apparel, the country's leading export commodities, have invested in their supply value chain, adopting lean manufacturing processes, enhancing production efficiency, and reducing time to market. And actually, starting this year, operators in Mauritius can be eligible for a rebate of 40% of air freight costs on exports to the US market. This trade promotion and marketing scheme will enable manufacturers deliver their products to US consumers much faster by making use of air shipment and thus enhancing the sector's competitiveness at a global level. Striving in a low-cost, competitive global environment has anything but deterred the Mauritius textiles and apparel industry. In fact, the sector has always been up for a good challenge, transforming itself into an active advocate of sustainability. With an eye on ethical and green production, manufacturers in Mauritius have embraced sustainable and organic manufacturing through initiatives such as reducing energy and water consumption and the use of harmful chemicals. The application of solar energy for heating and lighting and water recycling and wind energy systems for extraction and ventilation are just some of the other measures adopted. Besides, in keeping pace with, if not staying ahead of, a growing demand for sustainability, textiles and apparel operators in Mauritius have already been re-engineering their full package solutions around eco-design. It is such foresighted-ness that makes the Mauritius textile and apparel sector resilient, particularly at a time when environmental externalities and societal impacts are becoming determining factors in purchase decisions. So with these thoughts in mind, I now invite you to meet our distinguished speakers. To start with, Girish Bhaktavan, the head of manufacturing, including textile and apparel at the Economic Development Board of Mauritius, is an avid champion of the Mauritius textiles and apparel sector and has been engaging with major clients in the US and Europe for more than 2 decades now. Girish is a sought-after resource for the design of investor-centric trade measures. He has also served as regional focal point for East Africa at the Global Environment Facility NGO network in the US, supporting civil society and community initiatives. What I would call an early brush with sustainable socio-economic evolution that he now brings to sustainable manufacturing in Mauritius. Next, we will have Arif Karimji, who is the Vice President of the Mauritius Export Association, the sole private association in Mauritius that has been regrouping export companies for over 4 decades. Arif is an entrepreneurial innovator, having built a premium knitwear solution network in the African region with sophisticated European brands. He has also created a leading cashmere retail brand in Mauritius that has launched a unique made-to-order e-commerce concept. And finally, we will have Eric Eno, who is the marketing director at Aquarel Group, which is part of the Ciel Textile Companies, a world-class global player in garments, operations such as shirts, knits, and sweaters, with operational presence in Mauritius, Madagascar, and India. The group is one of the major exporters to the US market. Eric is an integral part of the Aquarel team, engaged in embracing a more sustainable future through constant innovation. The team has been instrumental in bringing 3D sampling, which is a true-to-life 3D garment simulation, to the Aquarel Group clients that has boosted Aquarel's brand equity and transformed the business-client relationships. Between them, our three experts today have more than 8 decades of experience in the Mauritius textile and apparel sector at a global level. I am personally looking forward to hearing the industry insights and learning about why sourcing textile and apparel from Mauritius will boost business resilience in the US. On this note, I am pleased to welcome Girish to get today's webinar on the road. Girish, over to you now.
Thank you very much, Preeti. Thank you also, Shannon. A very good morning to all attendees from in USA, and I should say good evening to all participant attendees in Mauritius. This is another testimony that the world is growing very small. The boundaries have been falling since the last 30 years. And with the advent of internet, we are able to connect with the most important market of the world, despite that we are more than 16,000 kilometers away in the middle of Indian Ocean. We are also together with US, together with the world population, the quest of the new normal. We are equally concerned about the damage, the death, the fatality done by COVID-19, but it's true also we're a bit privileged in Mauritius to be in a COVID-free island up to now. Next slide, please. Little Mauritius share a number of values, a number of similarities, a number of interests with US, and I must say, very important, our belief in democracy. Probably Mauritius is one of the rare or the only African country that has been democratic all the time since independence. There's also what you call melting pot and what we call a diverse population, cosmopolitan population, made of people that originate forefathers from Asia, Europe, Africa, and all this constitute the Mauritian identity. And five, our progressive approach in a liberal economy that has enabled Mauritius to have recorded a consistent positive economic growth since 1983. I'm being told it's a world record, but I don't think in 2020 it will be the same. Next slide, please. This continuous, consistent, credible efforts from policymakers, from stakeholders, from the people of Mauritius have earned Mauritius a number of international accolades. First in Africa when it comes to World Bank ease of doing business, 13 in the world. First in Africa when it comes to Forbes survey of best countries for business, 39 out of 139. And we have, over the last decade, consistently be winning the Mo Ibrahim Index Africa Governance. And rightly, next slide please, today Mauritius positions itself as a strategic hub for attracting trade and investment, high value added manufacturing, settling of regional headquarters in the region. It's important to mention that despite Mauritius We do not have any raw materials who are engaged in the transformation of so many products that we even export besides textile and apparel to Europe, to the world, to USA. I just mentioned with regards to the medical devices, the optical implants that we're exporting to USA. I'm talking about the diamond that we are cutting and polishing, reaching out for Tiffany, or even, a number of patented optical lenses that we export to USA besides textile and apparel. And our industry, next slide please, our industry has been going strong for the last 50 years and still an engine of growth. What's remarkable, the first textile company, Resultant Limited, has now developed into a vertically integrated factory that specializes in the manufacture of knits for a number of leading clients all around the world. And if we have been able to pass the test of time, we have been able to take advantages of the number of opportunities that came, we have been able to resist a number of challenges. And the reason has been in that particular rationale that governed the merchant entrepreneur. First, there has been the question of innovation. We have throughout, from a basic manufacturer of basic t-shirts to now manufacturing a number of design products with a lot of embellishment and reaching out for leading brands. So innovation has been key. The gradual adoption of technology throughout, and of course, taking advantage of the different preferential agreements that we have. And Mauritius has been exporting to USA with the advent of AGOA in 2000, leading the way in Africa, and that has enabled manufacturers to reach out for the most important market of the world. Next slide. And even our apparel products, there has been a lot of diversification to the Mauritius manufactured t-shirt, shirt, knitwear, swimwear, denim, shoes, kitwear. We export yarn, we export fabric. The manufacturing sector itself has a GDP contribution of 12.5%, and we are exporting to the number of important brands from Nautica, Calvin Klein, Puma, Orchestra, Ovis, and all this representing a total export of more than 600 million US dollars. So, and it is very relevant at this period of challenges being that we are pressed by COVID, okay, that we keep positioning ourselves as a country that are strong in the export of smaller orders. We have never been in the mass exports, a country that adhere to norms, a country that develop long-term partnership, and this is very relevant. So on the basis of all that we have been able not to have one-off, but to develop partnership with clients, stakeholders. 35% of our export of apparel going to South Africa, 43% going to Europe, 24% to USA. So this has been successful. Please, next slide. So over the last 50 years, not only in terms of products that we have identified, that we have diversified, even the company have been growing, the company have been moving outside Mauritius. We have extended production unit in Bangladesh, in India, and even in Madagascar next door, leaving the capital-intensive companies in Mauritius, and for the labor-intensive, we have opened new units in these countries. And all this fit in a particular vision. Mauritius also will look in the direction of Industry 4.0. And it's important for us in our strategy to position ourselves as a partner, as a strategic partner for the region. So this is very important for us, the way that we look at it. And in all this, next slide, in all this, in our way of looking at things, despite that Mauritius is not having any raw materials, we are not rearing any ship, we are not growing cotton, but we look at things differently. That's the acumen of the Mauritian entrepreneur. We are growing cotton in Madagascar. We are developing it transforming it into yarn in Mauritius. We are having weaving. We are developing the fabric. We are developing the necessary knits for through circular knitting for the t-shirt. And What is important is throughout what is constant is the notion of innovation. As a small island development state, we are concerned by sustainability. We are even more concerned. And that's why we have seen innovation coming with regards to polyester fabric, denim, in view to satisfy norms or more eco-friendly products, or even, have seen company engage in developing, 0% carbon footprint t-shirts or cone dyeing. And lastly, I was working in a dye house of a major company, and these companies are engaging in cold water dyeing. All this in the spirit, like diminishing use of energy, chemicals, and this goes straight in our way of thinking. We care for Mother Earth, and together we help in protecting Mother Earth. Mauritius, please, next slide. Mauritius, next slide, please. So we had a solid track record of exporting through all this effort, and today Mauritius offers a number of competitive advantages. And I won't be able to go to all, but some major advantages are we are duty free. We have duty free market access to USA. We export duty free, quota free to USA. We have been a specialist in regards to smaller orders, flexible in our order quantity that we engage with clients, and we have gone even further. And with the support, of government, we have we have laid emphasis on the competition to reach out to the clients in the shortest lead time. The trade and promotion marketing scheme that enable exporters to get some refund on the basic air freight goes straight in the spirit that we want to serve beyond ex-factory. We want our product to reach beyond ex-harbor of the country of origin. We want our products to reach faster to the country of destination that we are engaged. And this is very important for us. There's also the adherence to international norms. The companies are engaged. The companies are engaged to adhere to WAP, to fair trade and other compliances. And I'm well positioned to say, even as a social activist, I've been in a number of organizations, Mauritius has imposed and make it mandatory to every profitable company to contribute 2% of their profit to the CSR, corporate social responsibility, especially at the National Social Inclusive Foundation, where the money is being used for projects regarding the community and the environment. Yes, we have been access to the global markets through a number of preferential access, and certainly we export to USA through AGOA, we reach duty-free to Europe, we have the SADC COMESA block, and so many destinations that we can reach. Mauritius, next slide, please. Mauritius value the partnership that we are having in USA. We have been a front runner since the advent of AGOA in Africa. We have been exporting consistently, and today's export reached more than 144 million USD. And we do more. We do more than apparel, of course. We do so many products, be it tuna loans, be it medical devices, sunglasses, and even vanilla. Next slide, please. So in this period of pandemic, Mauritius is putting all effort. We are resisting COVID-19. Our factories, the lockdown is over since 3 months, I guess now. But even during the lockdown, the factories were reinventing themselves with regards of extending their production to a number of PPEs, be it masks, be it gowns, be it sanitizer, and being exporting it to the region, to South Africa, to Réunion Island. We are more and more now understanding the new ways customers want to do business. We are reorganizing ourselves. We are more connected in a platform, and of course, and all that, as serving the client directly. So there are a number of innovations with regards to the way business is being done from the entrepreneur, from the factory, etc. So we are gradually opening up. Next slide, please. We are gradually opening up. Mauritius is known to be a serene place. We are gradually opening up our boundaries and also adapting to the changes that COVID-19 are imposing on us. So our factories are working, sure, but we are also flexible on people working at home. Our hotels, our airports are taking all the necessary precautions when it comes to taking care of travelers coming to Mauritius. There are centers of quarantine even in the hotels. But one thing which is very important, we are accelerating the innovation when it comes to more sustainable production. There are initiatives coming from different factories, different manufacturers. And even we at EDB, Economic Development Boards, we had a partnership with Carle International, Trend Forecaster from France, and we are developing a number of apparel collections. Next slide, please. So we are pushing for engaging companies to adopt more and more at an accelerated pace, solar panel, to diminish the greenhouse gases emissions, to have a new water-friendly, more ecological way of doing business, or even to convert the textile waste in other soluble products. So that's why, next slide please, that's why Mauritius remains an ideal place for opportunity of doing business, to invest, be it in spinning mills, be it in manufacture of technical textile, or even eco-friendly fabric that could be developed out of sugarcane leaves, and all this within an attractiveness of a system that have got no restriction on ownership, that having low export tax, there is no export duties, and within a number of its incentives that government is putting in view to encourage more trade and investment. Next slide, please. So at the level of ADB, yes, we are the National Trade Promotion Agency. We do accompany potential investors from day one till that their business start operating and give a necessary support and facilitate them in setting in Mauritius. So please, next slide. So in one word, we are telling that there is an island of Africa located in the middle of Indian Ocean that got an exquisite lifestyle where you can work, where you can play, where you can live, when you can mix both business and pleasure. Thank you very much.
Indeed, Girish, there is no small feat for Mauritius, only great challenges and fantastic endeavors. Distance is no longer an issue even for an island nation like Mauritius. The Mauritius Export Association has played and continues to play an instrumental role in driving Mauritius' connectivity to the rest of the world, partnering with renowned brands worldwide and bringing innovative products to consumers who know exactly what they want. I now have the pleasure of inviting Arif to tell us more about the great work his association is doing in these regards.
Thank you, Preeti. Just a few words about MEXA before I get going. As the sectoral association, which groups all companies who manufacture for export, we have about 120 members. The textile and apparel sector is the biggest sector within our companies, but we also represent companies in the seafood sector, in the diamond and jewelry sector, and also in medical devices and quite a few other diverse areas. So we are quite diverse today. 15 years ago, textile and apparel was 80% of our membership, and that has now been has become quite diverse. Although we represent our companies and lobby government for their interests, we also work very closely with EDB to help investors or buyers who are interested in working in Mauritius. And so if you do have any interest, please feel free to contact us. We will give you a private sector viewpoint on where Mauritius can help you. The Mauritian economy, like every other economy in the world, has been severely affected by COVID. We went through 3 months of confinement between March and June, and this has had a severe impact on the economy as a whole. The textile sector was effectively closed for 2 months, and we started working again in June. And I must say that it has been quite encouraging that the sector has bounced back quite well. In fact, we had a survey at the level of MEGZA during confinement and asked our members on what their forecasts were until the end of the year, obviously with very little visibility at that time. But it would seem today that quite a few of our member companies have gone back almost to 2019 levels in terms of production. Obviously, this varies from product area. The casual area is doing much better than the formal area. But in general, I must say that we are quite pleasantly surprised by the strength and the speed of the rebound. This doesn't mean that we are out of the woods yet. Obviously, there is a potential second wave in our main markets that could significantly affect demand as well. So we obviously have to be very cautious. But I feel that the performance of the sector so far is actually encouraging. Now, I'd like to sort of talk more in terms of strategy. Why would an American customer wish to come and buy from Mauritius, or from the region for that matter? It is important to note that Mauritius is the hub of the Indian Ocean region, and we are very closely linked and tightly linked with Madagascar. Many of our Mauritian textile companies also have operations in Madagascar. So when you're looking at this region, Mauritius obviously leads it, but Madagascar and Mauritius together are about a $1 billion export source. It's very small compared to many other areas, I understand that, but we believe that we have a very important role to play in certain product areas. So I guess many of you who are attending here from the US are at the moment in flux. You are reimagining your supply chains. You want to future-proof your businesses. There are significant challenges, not only in terms of COVID, obviously, which is a business challenge, but there have been challenges which have been pre-COVID. And I'd like to sort of talk about 3 areas where I feel strategically Mauritius can be useful for you. Clearly, we are in a situation now, if it wasn't clear a year ago, it's very clear today, that sourcing now is going to have to become much less China-centric. This was becoming apparent last year with the additional tariffs which have been placed, but today we feel that this is now evident to everybody. And if it's not at the top of your sourcing agenda, I'm sure it's very close to the top. The recent issue with the Xinjiang and the cotton from China is obviously extremely serious. And I believe that many companies in the US will have to seriously look for options outside China. There's also the issue of consumer sentiment. I feel that this is something which is certainly there already, but I feel that the origin of where you produce has always been important, but is becoming increasingly important with transparent sourcing. And if consumer sentiment turns away from a certain country, obviously that's a major issue. I feel that our region provides you security in that respect. The second area where I feel strategically Mauritius can be useful is in terms of finding new partnerships, new sourcing partnerships. I firmly believe that the greatest hidden value in sourcing is in the first mile. It's that area which is closest to factories, closest to materials, and that's where true partnerships can radically improve speed to market, significantly reduce your risks, reduce costs, and really improve your bottom line. I feel that the Mauritian companies understand this and have proven that over the years they have developed very strong partnerships with customers, whether they are in Europe or in the US or in South Africa, as Girish mentioned in his overview. I feel very strongly that the future of sourcing in fashion has to be based on strong partnerships. That is the only way in which we will together get out of this mess, because we really are in a mess, and I think we know that since a while. The third important strategic element is in terms of purpose. The environment obviously is critical, but I think it goes beyond the environment. I think earning and keeping the trust of customers will require addressing not only environmental, but also social and economic dimensions of sourcing chains. I think purpose and profit have to be synchronized and aligned. I think in that respect, working in Mauritius and in Madagascar is a way in which you can actually positively impact society and the economy. So those are the three areas where I feel working in this area can be really beneficial. Where are the sort of short-term areas of opportunity? The first, I believe, is in shortening lead times. This has been mentioned by Girish and also by Preeti, but I'd like to emphasize this. Many of our companies in Mauritius are vertically integrated and have repositioned themselves on very short lead times. We have the additional benefit today of the air freight subsidy from government, which has been extremely useful. And I think we have a package now where we can offer customers a really interesting way in which you can reduce inventory. You know, reducing inventory today is obviously probably the key in criteria, not only to improve bottom line, but I think it also impacts on sustainability, it impacts on waste, it impacts on a lot of areas. So I think being able to shorten lead times is something which every one of you must be very, very concerned with, and I'm sure focusing on it. Mauritius can certainly help. The second area of opportunity is for those smaller brands and smaller buyers who need to move out of China. There are not that many options out there. Mauritius and Madagascar, I believe, offer a very interesting option. We have a sophisticated, relatively complex and deep textile ecosystem. And for those small brands with lower MOQs, the Mauritian factories are extremely well suited to meet your needs. So I believe that for that profile of customer, Mauritius certainly is an interesting option. And the final area of opportunity is in the storytelling. We all understand the importance of storytelling today. Each one of you probably has to explain to your customers where you're buying, how you're buying, what you're buying. Mauritius, given its size, small size, has an advantage. We are compliant, we are sustainable, as has been explained by Preeti. We are very transparent. You're not going to get any nasty surprises sourcing from this region. And I think that's extremely important. On top of it, I believe that the Made in Mauritius label offers opportunities for storytelling which don't exist anywhere else in the world. So I would really urge you to discover the ecosystem here. There are very interesting factories with great products. And I believe if you make the effort, you're going to find real opportunities to build your business and improve your bottom line. Just a final thought in terms of future proofing. If we're thinking longer term, The Far East and the Indian subcontinent are growing. They're developing at rapid rates, so at least they were before COVID. Forecasters have shown that in 10 years' time, those two big blocks are going to be going inwards in terms of their private production. They will be producing more and more for their local markets. This is evident in China already. I think 50% of Chinese production is now for the local market. For the West, whether it's Europe and the US, I think Africa is going to be the continent which is going to offer you the real potential to grow your business. So I believe strongly that the future of sourcing of fashion, longer term, is going to be in Africa. So I would suggest that future-proof yourselves and start looking at Africa now. Thank you.
Thank you, Arif. And you could not have been more right in emphasizing the importance of diversification and the diversification of sourcing base in the name of resilience, particularly in current times. And Africa is by all means the place to be right now. The Acquirer Group is an innovative leader with robust resiliency and strong operational connections with the US. There is no better person than Eric to tell us about Acquirer's great partnership with the US market, serving an awesome consumer base here. Eric, over to you.
Thank you, Preeti. Good morning to our American attendees. Thank you, Girish and Arif, for your statements. Obviously, Acquirer is part of a bigger group called Ciel Textile. Ciel in French means skies, and we look beyond horizon. We were born some 50 years ago in the wonderful island of Mauritius. Today, our roots are in Mauritius, while being a truly international company. We're exporting some 34 million garments a year, thanks to our 18,000 wonderful employees across 4 countries and 20 production units. We are based in Mauritius, obviously, Madagascar, India, and Bangladesh. The main 3 business units are wovens, knits, and sweaters. I'm sitting on the woven tops side with Acquirer clothing, Tropic Knits on the knit side doing light knits, and Floreal Knitwear doing sweaters. Acquirer is manufacturing and exporting 15 million units shirtings a year. Same for Tropic Knits, t-shirt and polos, 15 million. And Floreal Knitwear is doing 4 million sweaters a year. Our vision is to be the best global fashion partner. Our main markets is quite spread across USA, 33%, 1/3. 1/3 would be Europe, and the other third would be South Africa and India, where we produce already. Ciel Textile assets to the US market are, I must say, part of our, first of all, our values. We are very customer-centric, and it's strong in our DNA. We've got strong design capabilities over and above the prerequisited service reliability, quality, speed, and flexibility. Like Arif mentioned, we are vertically integrated across all our 3 business units. We are indeed today more than ever a great alternative to China. And the duty-free to the USA is a great asset. On the shirting side, we're talking about 20% duty on the cotton shirts, but it can go up to 32% on what we call man-made fibers, which can be a huge impact on the landed cost of the goods in the US. We also mentioned the very competitive air freight to the USA. I wouldn't mention the current crazy rates we're getting with, little access and frequencies of flight because of COVID and airlines. But pre-COVID, we could ship a shirt to the US, CPT or CIF, at $1, which is very competitive compared to the other markets. We are also 3D ready and digitally engaged. It proved very useful in COVID crisis period and allowing us having digital 3D suitcase collections and fairs. We've got a reduction of development cost and lead times, which is critical to the speed to the market. And we had a lot of digital sample approval during lockdown, which makes it possible in the future to move into that direction. We are also deeply engaged in our sustainability journey. I think this is clear. It's a prerequisite getting very, very important from the end customer. And we are going beyond what we call compliance. We are the first sub-Saharan Africa member of SAC, Sustainable Apparel Coalition, which is the global organization regrouping biggest players in the apparel industry, Levi's, PVH, A&F, Inditex, among others. Our 20 units use the Higg index to measure and improve our social and environmental performance, which is accessible transparently on Higg online platform. Our 7 wet processing plants respect the ZDHC standards. ZDHC stands for Zero Discharge of Hazardous Chemicals, and those plants are regularly tested. We are Ecotex approved for safety and traceability of our products, fabrics, and trims, and we do provide also OCS, organic cotton certified. So I think I've summarized quite a lot about what you can get from this region. And again, we strongly believe in partnership, long-term partnership. We've been supplying the USA market for the past 25 years and still going strong. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much to our speakers for a very informative presentation. And also, I want to thank you for giving up your evening. I know it's much later in Mauritius than it is here in the States, so thank you. We are now going to open it up to the audience for questions. We'll start with those submitted during the live presentation, but we encourage you all to continue submitting questions using your dashboard. So let me start with the first, a question for Girish, and the question from the attendee is, I did business in Mauritius and Madagascar in the early 2000s, and I'm quite interested in understanding the country's capabilities some 20 years later. What is the best way to do that? And they also said, from the video, I can see the country has come a long way.
Yes, Shannon, you know, the only thing that does not change is change itself. And for the past 2 decades, there has been a major transformation in Mauritius, where, you know, in terms of partnership itself, countries with which we are doing business. With the advent of AGUA, we started doing business with USA. We were in the past more focused towards Europe. We have also had consolidated our partnership with South Africa. We start doing more and more business in South Africa. So the setup has changed. The ecosystem has evolved. The way of doing business, we have been always pushing to be able to adhere to international norms. And all this, you know, cannot be expressed in a couple of lines. And I would have wished to say that, you know, Mauritius has positioned itself remarkably well, so much so that we earn the credit on ease of doing business to be classified in the top 15. So coming to Mauritius to do business, and that's why we have the one-stop shop with, represented by the Economic Development Board. And we are here to work together with you and facilitate your entry doing business in Mauritius. We welcome any suggestion or any interest that you may be having in any sector of our world, that we will be able to help to get you to establish your business in Mauritius. So I have no actually more details about what that attendees is looking for, but what can I say in a couple of words? A safe place, a place with a low tax rate, a place with a liberal economy, a place which is next to an emerging continent, an emerging market of Africa that is emerging with a number of middle class, with a growing number of cities, and Mauritius positions itself well to play an important role to connect to these major clients.
Maybe Shannon, I can just add something more on the textile. I mean, if this attendee had worked in Mauritius in the textile industry 20 years ago, what you would find, I think the most change today would be, firstly, the quality of the products. There's been a huge investment in technology over the last 20 years. So we have a much more sophisticated and diversified product range. And again, then I would say, given the vertical integration, which has happened over that period as well, the flexibility and speed in which the products can be delivered has changed radically as well. So Mauritius 20 years or 25 years ago was probably more doing basics and long lead times. That has changed.
Great, thank you very much. And our next question is on AGOA. AGOA is extended until 2025. What is your perspective on the likelihood that it will get extended, and are there efforts in play to do that?
Yes, AGOA is supposed to continue to 2025. At this stage, technically, AGOA ends in 2025. However, I do know for a fact that there are already efforts being made, even at the level of Congress, to try and see whether AGOA could be renewed, even within the next couple of years. So it is difficult to forecast what's going to happen 5 years down the line, but we believe there is a strong chance that AGOA could be extended.
Yeah, to bounce back on that, we all know very well that the advent of AGOA has enabled African countries to do business with Africa. So far, the number of meetings I had with, suppose, USAID and all goes in line of finding the ways and means to increase the business that Africa get the opportunity to do with USA. So we can't give a formal reply what will happen, but inside us, we know that it will not stop.
There is another also opportunity or potential is that the USA, at least recently, that might change, but at least at the moment, the trend is towards discussing and negotiating free trade agreements with individual African countries. So that is perhaps also one way to go, where Mauritius could negotiate an FTA with the US and have free entrance.
Yes, definitely. Thank you very much. And our next question, Arif, I believe this one is for you. Could you please expand or define very short lead times from order placement to arrival in the US on the East Coast? What is that typically, and is the air subsidy permanent?
Just to reply on the air rebates, it's on a yearly basis, so it's valid until June next year, and due to our strong partnership and export industry in Mauritius, there's no doubt that this would be renewed and approved.
Sorry, it's 2 years.
2 years. So that's another. So that's June 2022. Okay. Sorry. Thanks for that. Now talking short lead times. Obviously, I mean we have way and means to do short lead times. Export by air to the US would take not more than 5 days, I would say. And on the shirting, I mean, we've got many ways of shortening lead times by doing fabric banks, grades in stock, garments over-dyed, etc. So we've got ways and means. But if we start fresh fabric on the shirting, we could do anything between 4 to 5 weeks as a short lead time on the yarn dyes, and another 2 to 3 weeks for the garment. Obviously, it requires strong communication, planning, and partnership. But I would say that in less than 9 to 10 weeks, you would have your goods in the DC East Coast. So that's my reply on what we call short lead times.
Great, thank you very much. And our next question is, from the presentation, the competency on production is quite evident. How strong is the product development and design capabilities of the suppliers? Many U.S. retailers expect suppliers to provide design and product development support.
Yes, of course. There are many companies that have their own design departments and contributing in the embellishment of the product and also proposing a number of designs. I guess Shell Group is doing that already. I think you can add to it of the type of proposal of design that you're doing for your customer for the past 25 years.
Yes. I mean, working with 3 different continents, obviously we are trend seekers and we are following very, very closely what's happening on the market. We do a lot of shopping ourselves, and we do what we call specific product development for each of our customers. Obviously, the DNA of the J. Crew would not be the same as the Brooks Brothers, etc. So we really peg to the necessity and the need of the customers. We could do nothing. What I mean by nothing is just getting your tech packs and executing hand loops. That's the bare minimum. But we do propose collectioning, CADS designing, 3D garments, 3D collection, and these 3D and digital tools are really helping us shortening lead times. When you look at development cycle from concept to in DC or in stores, there's a lot of time and lead time which is eaten by physical samples. So we are strongly putting emphasis on reducing these lead times by working on 3D. And this helped a lot because it shortened the lead times and it lowers the cost of development also. So we've got 3D designers. We do obviously do protos and collectioning, etc. But I must say that we've got a very strong, on our team in Aquarel, we've got some 30 people working on design. And just with accounts management, each teams have got a different accounts to handle. And this happens also across all the other business units. So I must say that it's one of our most important strengths. We are investing. We are not the cheapest in the world, but on the product side, we are really added value.
Yeah, and I'd like to add that CL is not unique in this. There are a lot of other factories in Mauritius as well who have design, and I think it was absolutely right. Design, development, forecasting, trying to see how we can reduce speed to market and give the right product to the customer at the right time is a strategy which many companies are using here and been using effectively. The fact that also there are a lot of sophisticated brands, especially from Europe, hopefully soon from the US as well, who work already in Mauritius, means that our knowledge of product is actually quite high. So you're not going to be wasting weeks and weeks going back and forth, getting the sample right. We pride ourselves as an industry to be able to understand customers' needs and get samples to you right the first time.
Great, thank you very much. And we will have one final question today. And that is specifically, how can a person better understand the type of product and the various factories without being able to travel there for the foreseeable future?
Well, they just connect with us at Economic Development Board. Obviously, we can reply to their specific questions. It's an industry of 50 years. And actually, I think we can respond to exactly what the needs they are looking after. The industry after 15 years is quite diverse. We have so many type of industries within the apparel sector itself. Okay, and One way to get to know the industry well, we have a website that we give the necessary information. We have bodies like MEXA who also can be supportive. We have also the Chamber of Commerce and other bodies, other associations. But yes, to be able to understand the whole apparel sector from fiber to fashion, if I can put it like that. Yes, we will be available to give all the necessary information.
And you can visit the Shell Textile website very easily, and we'll be glad to be in touch with the USA partners.
And just a final point is that COVID has obviously also encouraged new initiatives. So there's going to be soon launching an online platform which is going to provide a lot of information on the whole ecosystem in Mauritius and also beyond that. So that's also something which you can contact Girish and he can give you more information on that.
Great, thank you very much. And a note to attendees, we will provide contact information as well in the follow-up email you received today.
Well, thank you, Shannon. So it looks like we have come to an end of our Q&A session and a wonderful 1-hour session. We thank our audience for their engaging interactions and our speakers for the enlightening presentation. I myself, I have learned a lot today. So for questions that were not addressed, and I believe, Shannon, we have received a lot more, they will be taken up offline. And I'll proceed to Girish for his closing remarks.
Well, I must say that the webinar today has been an interesting dialogue that we can have, even if our attendees are communicating to us through the chat, through the question that we are in. The fashion world is facing a number of challenges, at times a number of uncertainties with the advent of COVID. But what's important is to understand somewhere Mauritius is positioning itself, to respond to these challenges. Arif put it clearly about the potential that Africa is representing and how Mauritius can play a very important role to connect to a category of clients who is now emerging at the middle class of Africa. Eric explained the consistent service that companies, conglomerates, I should say, like Shell Group have been giving to even US and EU clients. So in that particular context where we are looking for reliability, in that particular context where we are concerned about sustainability, in that particular context when we have to look beyond our borders, because at the end of the day, clients will dictate the productions. Mauritius positions itself as a very competitive partner for USA. So what we are looking is to extend our hands for partnership, for even partnership in investment, for more sports, and of course to consider Mauritius as one of the most reliable sourcing destinations. That's the way we look at it, and of course together we can conquer even bigger markets. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And on that note, we are going to conclude today's webinar. Thank you again to all of our speakers for joining us today. A quick reminder to attendees, you will receive a follow-up email later today with a copy of the slide deck and a recording of today's session. Please don't hesitate to reach out with any additional questions. You can always contact USFIA directly by emailing us at info@usfashionindustry.com. Thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to hosting you at the next USFIA event. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.